Hello, I'm Matthias, Senior Developer at Apida. Today I'm going to show you how to write your own custom assertion for the Layer7 API Gateway. A custom assertion is a small module that you can add to your gateway. As you can see in this demo, it can be used like any other assertion. When the policy gets executed, it will run your own code, so you can use custom assertions to implement any kind of functionality that the standard assertions don't provide. In this video, we will create a simple custom assertion that just writes some message to the logs. Think of it as a Hello World example. I will show you how to set up your project, what classes and configuration files are required, and how to add the assertion to your gateway. Let's get started by creating a new Gradle project for Java. I'm going to name this Logging Custom Assertion. As you can see, I'm using IntelliJ as my IDE, but as long as you can set up a Gradle project, any IDE or editor should be fine. Once the project is ready, the first thing we need to do is add the Custom Assertion API jar file as a dependency. You will find this file in the Gateway Development Tools under Custom Assertion Dev Kit, Custom Assertion API, lib com.l7tag. This jar file contains interfaces that we must implement, as well as some useful helper classes. Inside the dev kit, you will also find the corresponding Java doc files, as well as an example project for a custom assertion. Unfortunately, this one is slightly outdated. To add the jar file to our project, we create a lib directory in the project's root directory and copy the jar file there. Then we go to the build.gradle file and add the jar file as an implementation dependency. While we are in this build file, I want to mention that it is recommended to build your custom assertion with JDK version 11. That is because the Layer7 API Gateway also uses Java 11. All the JDK versions should also work. However, if you are using a newer JDK, for example, I'm using version 17, then you must add a few lines to this build file or the gateway will not be able to load your custom assertion. You have to add compile Java and then set the source compatibility to Java version 11. And the same for the target compatibility. Again, this is not necessary if you are using JDK version 11 or lower. Now we are ready to write some code. There are two classes that are required in every custom assertion. One implements the custom assertion interface and is mostly used when configuring our assertion in the policy manager. The other class extends service invocation and contains the business logic that runs during policy execution. Let's begin with the custom assertion class. I'm going to name it Logging Custom Assertion, and we have to make sure that it implements the custom assertion interface. There are several additional interfaces that you can add here for more configuration options. But right now we only care about two things. The first is that we have to implement getName. This method returns the name for our assertion that you will see in the policy manager. Let's go with log_some_text. The second thing we want to specify in this class are the parameters of our assertion that can be configured in the policy manager. Every parameter requires a getter and a setter method. For our logging assertion, let's add the text that gets logged, as well as a flag that tells us if the text should be logged as a warning. And let's not forget the necessary getter and setter methods. Now our assertion can be configured, but it doesn't do anything yet. To fix that, we will add the second required class. This one will be called Logging Service Invocation. This class must extend the abstract class service invocation. There are two methods we must override here. The first is set custom assertion. Here we get the previously configured assertion object so that we can access the parameter values during policy execution. There actually is a protected custom assertion field in service invocation, but we would have to cast that to logging custom assertion every time we use it, so let's instead add a new field. And assign it in here. The other method we want to override is check request. This is where we add our business logic. The custom policy context allows you to access messages, context variables, and other information. Check the Java docs for details. Check request returns a status value that can be used to indicate problems like missing authentication or unexpected errors. If everything is fine, just return none. Now, to write our log messages, we must first add a logger to this class. This is how you would normally do that. Unfortunately, the gateway will, by default, ignore any log messages at info or lower levels if the logger name does not start with com.l7 tag. So we can either put all of our code into the com.l7 tag package, or we can just add that as a prefix to our logger name. Now we can complete our implementation of check request. We will check if the warning flag is set in our assertion, and if so, we will log the text as a warning. Otherwise, we will just log it at info level. And that is all in terms of actual code. However, there is one more file that is required for all custom assertions. In source, main, resources, create a new file named custom_assertions.properties. It is important that the file has exactly this name. Now we have to add a few properties to this file. Each property name must start with a prefix. Any string without spaces is fine, but it must be the same prefix for all properties. Here I will be using logging as prefix. The first required property is logging.assertion.class, and it must hold the fully qualified name of our custom assertion class. So in my case, this is com.apida logging custom assertion. The second property we need is logging assertion server, and it must hold the service invocation class. We must also assign one or more categories to our assertion. This will tell the policy manager in which of these categories our assertion is going to appear. Every custom assertion should be added to the custom assertions category, which is, by the way, only visible if it's not empty. But let's also add our assertion to logging, auditing, and alerts. For this, we add the property logging assertion category and set it to custom assertions, comma, logging, auditing, alerts. You can find the exact names for each category in the official documentation. Finally, we should also provide a description for our assertion by setting logging assertion description to some meaningful text. And that's it. Now we can build our assertion. We can open the terminal and run Gradle wrapper build. or we can use IntelliJ to trigger the build. Either way, we end up with a jar file under build libs. Now we can install our custom assertion on a gateway. If you are using the normal version of the Layer7 API Gateway, and by that I mean the one that is not a Docker container, then open a terminal on your gateway and run service ssg stop to stop the gateway, then copy the jar file we just built into this directory, and finally restart the gateway by running service ssg start. If you make some changes to your assertion and you want to update it, just repeat these steps. In this video, I will be using the container version of the API Gateway to show our custom assertion in action. As you can see, I already have a Docker Compose file with a gateway and a database. To add the assertion, all we have to do is add the jar file as a Docker volume. This is the jar file that we just built, and we are going to map it into this directory. Now the custom assertion will be loaded as soon as we start the containers. If we want to update the assertion at any point, we can simply restart the gateway container. To demonstrate that the custom assertion is actually working, let's connect the policy manager to our gateway. The new assertion is available in the two categories we configured. Now let's add it to this very simple test service that I have prepared. And for good measure, let's also add a second instance, this time to log a warning. Now I will execute this policy in Postman, and we can have a look at the logs. As you can see, our messages were logged as expected. I hope this video was helpful for getting you started on writing your own custom assertion. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. Anyways, that's it from me for today.